So honestly, yeah. So I think without getting all academic, because we're both in psych field, so go online, we would love to be scared. We would love to, and this is a safe way to actually scare the crap out of yourself. You can pick up a book, scare the crap out of somebody, and close it and hide. You can go see a movie, close your eyes and go home. You don't have to worry about that serial killer in your house most times.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it gives us a safe space to explore these things that scare us and kind of confront fears without, you know, possible bodily harm.
Possible.
Yeah. So, and what would you think draws us to different types of fear?
Well, again, it depends on how screwed up you are at different things. So, I mean, say for example, we go right back to different things. However, I like blowing messing with people's minds because so, so other things we got bad history, there's horrible things that we've done in history that scare the crap out of people. But again, I prefer things that are not real, just because I can close the book and get out of it. Things like that. But again, whatever phobias, I love teaching phobias. Number one is like, what are we afraid of and why are we afraid of it and why is it so irrational to fall in love with this stuff? And then just to go with, again, is it primal? Is it related to trauma we've gone through? Are we around screwed up people like our family, relationships? Yes. Or I mean, what is it in our lives that actually ties in what scares the shit out of us and why?
Oh yeah, and it's vastly different for different people. Like for me, I have a hard time dealing with like ghost movies because when you deal with like Freddy and Jason and stuff like that, like you can fight them. I mean, they probably lose, granted, okay. But I have a chance to fight them. And like those movies where you have zero control, like Final Destination, that first movie messed me up for months. Like I jumped every time the curtain moved. Like, because my mind is very overactive, so those psychological elements are what really gets me. But I can sit there and watch all the splatter punk constantly, and my husband's like, "Aren't you grossed out?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. Just didn't bother me. Bring it."
Yeah, we know how to scare the shit out of Jenny. That's great.
Yeah, it's great. But I also like in that field too, so I kind of confront that on my own in my own safe space. I was going to talk about the three protective frames. Safety and detachment and control, but we've kind of touched on those things.
Well, if she wants to get all academic with you, by the way, both our backgrounds, I know if she wants to say anything that what she does, go ahead.
I'm a nurse by trade. I work in a step-down from ICU unit, but I've also studied psychology quite a bit, extensively, and took forensics in college as well. So the human mind fascinates me.
Yeah, and then my degrees are in psychology. I teach psychology both in high school and college, part-time therapist, and I just like to mess with people's minds. But yeah, and we actually have coming out in a couple months, a writer's nonfiction book that basically we'll all talk about our mental health issues. It's going to be really cool. So it's not out yet, so I'm not going to pimp it out. So again, writers are messed up people, so we actually get all our stuff out on paper.
Absolutely. I mean, that was one of the things I really wanted to talk about today too, is about like how it helps our mental health, especially like whether it's writing it, reading it, watching it, the positive things that it does for our mental health. Like something as simple as forming a community. I've seen through many world conventions, like the community within water is so tight knit. Like we look out for each other, we take care of each other, we're very accepting people. So I think that's great.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've talked to so many people here at Teen Audience. You leave here, you feel like your family, and you are. I mean, my first conference years ago, I went to writers who I didn't think I would know, and then all of a sudden we became friends and hung out together, and now we're part of it. These people, when you go home, and why do you connect? Because we're all like this our dark side. You know, one of my favorite quotes is I think that with Mark Twain. It's not that everybody has its dark side, its shadow side, and there's the cousin of Carl Jung and like that. And so like, people who actually are afraid of their dark side, the shadow they don't show everybody else. We play with our shadows, and we're in there. And I think that's for the rest of you who are here. You love playing in the shadows too, and this is what makes us family.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then just like our personal, if you have any personal experiences when it comes to like mental health aspects and stuff.
Yes, you trying to analyze me?
No.
Yes, she is. Yes, yeah. No,
Sure too.
no, there's a reason why I teach psychology, the reason why I did psychology, because I'm screwed up. I came from a really weird background. I've dealt with anxiety, I've dealt with PTSD, some other things. Yes, I have. We talked last night. I've had an ex-fiance who's had to murder me, so true story. So, yeah. So, but things like that happen. Yes. I know that she might be that person, I don't know. I'm not joking. So, but again, in my classes, I tell people that therapy is, you should go to therapy as often as you do to a doctor, things like that. And I've got a mental health club at my school. We do this stuff, and we're just trying to launch an author's mental health page online. And we're just trying to do this. So again, we all have our issues. Nobody's clean. Everybody has something going on. And I have a sign on my classroom saying normal people scare me, and they do. Nobody's normal. We all have something going on. So for people to actually own up to it and get it out, those are the most healthy people to me.
Yeah. I know it's helped, writing has helped my mental health dramatically. Like I had an experience in high school. My best friend took his own life, and it really messed me up for a long time. So I had night terrors, nightmares, like every single night. When I started writing my first book, which is, by the way, here's my book, I started doing my main character nightmares because of the things that were going on. I wanted these horrible things that happened in my book to be reflected in the personalities of my characters and what they went through. So I started giving her my nightmares, and I stopped having them. So I haven't had a night terror since I started writing. I barely have nightmares at all anymore, which is great. But I'm still able to write them. And I have had an author friend dub me like the queen of nightmares. So that's what it's for. But it's definitely helped my mental health a lot. And I give those issues to my characters, and they kind of trap them in the page. And it's a safe place for me to play around with them. And as the characters interact with each other, they're talking about these issues, working these issues out. And it's like my own personal therapy.
So now, do you think that do you write about your issues to break yourself, or you think that your issues kind of get you to write about them? Who's in control?
It used to be me. That's my characters. But this is slightly dark, but this is a place for it. I did describe it like this past year has been really tough for me. I have an elbow injury. I've not been able to do my normal job of being a nurse. So I've been stuck behind a desk sitting watching heart rhythms for 12 hours in a shift, which is not great for my mental health. My brain needs to stay active. So whenever I get that, I'm built up and I take it. I sit down and I refer to it as like emotional cutting. My friend just was like, "Well, there's really something wrong with you," and I was like, "I am well aware. I know how to tell. My characters wake me up and show screens like scenes in my brain." The other morning I woke up and one of my characters was making sarcastic commentary on my dreams. So I'm aware. I need how to sell. I function.
But again, she said the key word there, she functions. And again, both of us, I mean, we've been in her heart community for a while, and I've written in various genres. And again, who's the most healthy? The hard people, because we get it out on the page. I've met almost every one of my favorite writers ever, and guess what? They're all probably the most well-adjusted people we've ever met. Why? Because, again, it's therapy. I mean, I went through things. I read a horrible story about eugenics, all those things that guy really who influenced Hitler, and it's like crazy stuff. Or near-death experiences. This one, I almost died as a kid. Again, still my nightmares. I saw a horrible accident when I was a kid. I'm sorry, when I was living in Jersey. That's not like a nightmare there. But it's true. But again, she was saying I had nightmares about it for a long time, and I finally wrote it, and that became my first short story sale ever because I wrote about it, and guess what? Nightmare's gone. It's our community. You're the most screwed up writing. It probably translates to the more normal people. Well, not normal, but
I mean, outwardly normal.
outwardly, yeah. Well, adjustably screwed up.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, usually if I'm not talking about my fictional characters, most people think I'm perfectly fine. It's fine. But as soon as I open my mouth, like other authors understand about the whole concept of your characters talking to you. But most normal people don't, so they look at you very strange. And it's fine.
I mean, yeah, and when I teach schizophrenia and psychotic I say how wrong it is and how to get help. You just talking to our characters, I hear things like that, and again, I write, I see it in the cinematic light. I can't write unless I see it happening, and so again, in psychological terms, I'd be heavily medicated and been in a padded room. However, since it's putting in the books, I'm singing. But again, it's weird. Again, I don't think anybody is completely. I don't know if you and where it's wrong, but but again, we all find a coping mechanism. Yes, right. We all have something wrong with it, but if we find an outlet. I mean, I'm in a band of writers, so we play music. Music helps. I do music therapy for people across the country. Exercise and things like that, and then writing. But we all have an outlet. If it's going to be an outlet for our weirdness, then we go for it.
Absolutely. I think that's all the questions I had written down. So I think we only have half an hour. But if you guys have any questions,
anybody have anything? Otherwise, we're just going to make that stuff.
Yeah, we can talk for a while. That's fine.
Well, I have a question for you. How does psychology actually influence, say, your latest book? Tell me how.
Ooh, yes. Yeah. Before in my series, this is very heavy in a lot of psychological aspects. So you have a lot of the schizophrenic-like thoughts and a lot of intrusive thoughts. You have characters that have complex relationships, but they're all stuck in this cabin in the middle of nowhere, and there's no escape from each other. So playing around with that pressure was fascinating to me, and I gave as much of myself in it as possible, and the readers really responded to it. I also opened up the points of view, so you get inside everybody's head, and you get to know everybody, including the villains. They're very complex, but I got there. But I love exploring concepts, like taking something very simple and really expanding on the psychology behind it. So like I have one character, his eye color changes based on the viewer. So what the viewer sees is what they want to see. Simple concept. This is true eye color. To do that, they actually want to see the real him more than anything. And one person has ever happened in his life. And the psychology behind that, you start digging into it. And then when it happens again for like the first time in years, he just completely breaks down because someone actually really wants to see him. And so I love taking the simple concepts and just really digging into the psychology behind it. So,
yes.
Yeah, favorite disorder that I'd like to write to. Probably one of my favorite ones that I deal with a lot in the book is the white knight complex. And you feel like you have to be the one to save everybody. And exploring that. So the fifth book, which is what I'm currently I'm writing, there's a whole scene where a guy was going to sacrifice himself to save someone else's life. And they're in a relationship. And she's really upset because he didn't tell her about this plan. And she says he's selfish. And he looks at her and he's like, I was going to sacrifice my life for you. How is that selfish? And she's like, because you would rather force me to live without you than face the risk of living without me. It's selfish. So like really getting in there, I love. But yeah, the white knight complex comes up a lot.
I love writing about fugues and just departures from sanity. Because one of the scariest things ever to think about is you lose control. You lose control of your thought or your mind. And it happened to me once, post attempted murder. And again, I can remember maybe 2 months of that entire year I went through, and it scares the crap out of me because there are parts of my life I can't remember because of that. I'm thinking, what happens if we go through something and we can't remember? There's a basic thing called highway hypnosis. Sometimes, as writers, we use this all the time. I'll drive to work and I'll forget how I got there. Which is scary. You shouldn't forget where you're driving on the highway. But it's not a order, things like that. And I'm thinking I'm writing, or I'm thinking I'm going out, and I'm like, wow, I could have passed a dead body and nothing would have happened. But think about where sometimes you go through your day and somebody says, you didn't talk to me today, or we had a conversation, I can't remember that. The whole concept of losing control of who you are, your brain, everything else, that's threatening to me. Because again, you can do some things. We're not talking about alcohol or drug induced things. We're talking about. I mean, I teach a lot of stress workshops and how stress can actually cause you to just forget things. And it's, to me, that's the most frightening. But you could do something horrible and not have a dangerous recollection of it.
I experience that all the time.
You know that?
So I think mine's kind of the opposite. I was wondering if there was a specific like aspect of psychology that you find like super hard to like work through, like personally or just in general, that is really hard to like deal with.
So you're talking about the most thing that's difficult to write about?
Yeah, the like most difficult aspect of psychology that you've like encountered with trying.
Okay, for me, okay, my school we just did a new thing. It's called Make It Message. It's a national thing about preventing suicide, because unfortunately we had to do it in my last school in the last year. And I think just stigmatizing and labeling disorders. I think you don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to write the wrong thing. And most of my characters, okay, it's an anxiety or depression or something, and I never want to say it in the wrong way. I want to say, okay, this is you. This is part of you. This is who you are. And there's help and other things. Because the last thing I want to do is have somebody come out and say, take it in a negative connotation. That's horrible. I mean, I never want to do that for my own people I work with, or whether I'm giving therapy to or my classes. I want them to come out feeling good. And again, so even though so many characters mirror me or things I've been through, I want them to come out with not so much a happy ending, but just like some kind of positive way to deal with things. And because for me, my fear is somebody's going to come out and say, no, that he's talking about it in a bad way or it's just a bad thing. No, mental health is not. It's not a bad thing. But labeling it's like, okay, if he's anxious, I don't want to deal with him, or if he's depressed, I don't want to deal with that. No, it's just not who you are, and you really kind of own what you're doing, but also it doesn't own you. Does that make sense to you?
I pretty much have to agree. Like it's difficult and challenging to approach certain disorders, especially, and do it in an accurate, genuine way where you're not stereotyping. I focus very heavily on the emotional journeys of my characters and where their minds go. I would love to say that Cohen develops good, wonderful adaptive habits, but he does not. It just gets worse and worse for that woman, which is why I have a poor Cohen novel. But I try to stay true to life, because there are people that have, that don't adapt well. They just don't handle things well and they break down. But showing that journey, and I think that's why book 4 is special to me, is because you do get to see Cohen like completely break down, but because of the people he's around, they start to build him back up. So one of the things that one of my characters says that really kind of stuck with me was they were talking about the intrusive voices and PTSD in particular. And he said, I know you want to isolate yourself. You want to keep yourself away from everyone else because of what you're going through. But that's the wrong move, because when you're not alone, you just give that voice more power. Like you need people telling you the opposite around you to combat that voice. And that was one of the, I think, the most beautiful moments in that book for me.
Along those lines, are there certain things that you have written about that you had to get over some type of obstacles to be able to write about it? How did you get past that?
Hell yes. No, seriously, it's hard. I think we were just talking before about trauma, everything like that, and see, we talk about driving New Jersey, which is scary. But again, I saw something that made give me nightmares. I wrote about it, and it got out of my head. However, things that happened to me personally, like I wrote about near death. I had a near death experience when I was 10. I fell through the ice, and my 6-year-old brother was looking at me like, "Bye, whatever." And it screwed me up in ways I didn't know about until much later, and it probably started me on some weird psychological journey. And then eventually I came grips with it, things like that. And then, but I didn't deal with it until I was in my 20s. So but a lot of times with these psychological things, you don't realize how much it affects you until somebody points it out. This is why I tell everybody, go to therapy once a year, find out, just go for a checkup, because you don't know what's affecting you. I mean, I went through another one of those dysfunctional families. I'm still getting over that, and it still affects all my relationships, real life, fictional, and things like that. But the more and more I go through my journey, I can kind of grasp all those reins and kind of take part of it. Again, you have to be ready for that stuff. Because, I mean, sometimes when you're not ready, it can backfire. Or just, but again, you don't run away from it. And as I was saying, I'm seeing her trigger warning sign back there. But again, it's, yeah, I mean, you should push through it, but you have to be ready for it too, because you don't want to hit the wrong notes with the stuff. And again, because again, we're not in the vacuum here. We're not in an echo chamber. Like whatever we write, people are going to read it and say, wait a minute, they're going to take it seriously. So we have to make sure we address it in the right way. And it's not that it's a burden, but it's just we want to make sure it's the right way. Because I have my students read, high school and college kids are reading my books, and they come back and ask me questions. What do you mean by this? Are you just screwed up? I said, yes, I am. But I always say, listen, you're not alone. Like I've been through this stuff, talked about it, and it opens up all these great conversations too. But I tell them it took me a long time to get to this point to be able to write about it, to read about it. And there's still some things that I won't touch because I'm not ready with it.
And when I wrote my first book, I thought that I was like digging right in and like I didn't hold back, and like, I was very proud of myself. I mean, I really didn't hold back, but I just didn't know how deep the rabbit hole went, honestly. Like in the process of writing, you kind of scratch away the surface a little bit more with each book, and then by the time I got to book 4, like I was never nervous about releasing a book until I got to the 4th one. And then it was suddenly intensely personal because there was more of my inner voice in there than any of my other books. And it's like, okay, so now people are going to know. And it makes you feel very vulnerable.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the toughest one for me, but I'm doing good. It's fine. It's cool. Everything's fine.
Yeah, but writing is, it's, again, I don't want to put any horrible images in your head, but the writing is like you feel like you're naked every day, one day in front of. That's scary, not just scary for you guys, it's scary for us, because again, nobody wants to see that. But again, anyway, but seriously, that collection of nonfiction that a bunch of writers are putting out, we're all talking about our own struggles, and that is, my struggles. And that's scary. I mean, that's what I want. I know how much good drive me with them. But if I can help one person, then it's worth it. That's cool. But again, but we have to be. I don't want to keep on saying naked, but I mean, we are naked on the pages there, and we leave it all there. And I think that's the best job as a writer if we leave it all on the table. Then it's like, because writers can see, I mean, readers can see when we go back. And if you let it out, it's better. But again, I think it's very therapeutic. Something that's very troublesome. Like, wait a minute, he's gone through this, or she's gone through this. We have a little bond now. Even though we might never meet the people, we have that bond.
Absolutely. Is that our time?
Do we have other questions? Come on, somebody give us a cool question. Otherwise, we're going to make. We're going to talk more boring stuff. No, but okay. Before we leave, I also talk about pimping our stuff. First of all, I can't shut up because I'm a teacher. But if anybody wants to carry on and continue to talk, come to my table right down there, and we can talk. I'm sure Jenny would do the same thing. Yeah, we don't have to buy our books, so that'd be great. So my thought is, I'm trying to get away one night stay at this place, the Haunted Asylum in San Virginia. So it's like, yeah, come on, if you're getting this. But people come from all over the country to stay there. But again, honestly, I like talking to people. Come over. You want to talk psych, you want to talk other things, please come over and do this stuff. Grab my card, talk, email, or whatever else like that. Because we love talking about stuff. There's a reason why we're on this panel. Whether we're just like.
You didn't meet anybody else in Scotland?
I think there's something for I don't know, mental illness.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge platform for me, and I always push and advocate for that, for mental health, and just the wonderful benefits that reading and writing have on that for me. So I love sharing those experiences. I'm right on the corner here, so if you guys want to talk about anything, I can talk.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. If you meet somebody in the field like this, We don't. I mean, we will always listen. I often attract the most nutty people in the world, but
Yeah,
but again, they're fun.
it's always entertaining. Right?
Exactly. I mean, as long as their baggage matches up with mine, we're good.
Absolutely.
All right. Again, we just want to say thank you for coming. It's like you have so many cool things here for us to spend a half hour with us. It's well appreciated, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yes. Okay. Hold on.